Hey folks, how's it going? It's Mr. Murray coming to you with a video on SOCS with histograms, all right? And so in this video, what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be showing you a couple of examples of histograms, and we're going to look at them, and we're going to try to find their shape, outliers, center, and spread, all right? And not really Bernie is asking, but he's asking in this meme for so-called comedians, once again asking you to stop calling them Instagrams. Because if you do them really quickly, a histogram, you might think of it as an Instagram. All right, that's a funny little joke for you. Okay, so let's jump right into it with our first little example here. And as with my previous video that I've done, if you looked at the one on dot plots, because I did that first, I may be bringing the graphing calculator back into the mix. We'll see. So here we have shape, outliers, center, and spread. Now, finding the exact center and spread is going to be a little bit difficult because we don't really have the original data. So in this video, I'm going to be a little bit less specific, but I'm going to focus more on the actual procedure. And again, if this is you finding SOCS, either I'm going to give you exact data, and if I don't, you can't find exactly what the median and the IQ are, or the standard deviation and the mean are, right? Because you have to have, sometimes you have to have specific data if you want a specific answer. Okay, so let's take a look. Here I see that I've got data, this data off to the right. So this indicates that the data are skewed to the right. Okay. Outliers. Well, actually, look at that. There's even more data out here. So I would say that there are, I think, 3 outliers, because these little bars I'm pointing to indicate an extremely small frequency, which means they stand out. They're unlike the rest of the data. So there's probably like 1 or 2 of them. And that's what we think of an outlier. And also, they're so far off to the right, I didn't even catch them originally, right? They're unusually large. So I'm going to say there's 3 outliers. I'm going to call this 26K. I don't know, 27K and 28K. I'm not sure if this is entirely a correct reading of this histogram, but it's a reasonable one. It's right next to 26, and if this was you, I mean, this is a fair interpretation. I'm not going to nitpick you. Oh, I don't know, it was probably 29. I think that's fine. It's fine with me. It's not about nitpicking you, all right? That's not what I really am about, personally. Okay? All right, center. So I am not going to find the exact center. You can see the frequencies are going to make this very difficult. So I'm going to like put in a sentence stem, and then if we had the data, we could figure out the exact number. So what are we going to do? So first of all, we know the data are skewed. So since the data are skewed, the median, because the median is what you use for center when it's skewed, because the mean is biased, right? The mean is being thrown off. So if we were to do the mean salary of people at this company, it will look a little bit higher. And the reason it will look that way is because you have these couple individuals who are making like $300,000 or $400,000 a year that I pointed to, that arrow, dragging things up. And that's why a lot of times you see in you know, the news or stuff, median household income, median, and you know, median, because things are not evenly distributed, right? So a number that's exactly bigger than half and exactly smaller than half might be a more reliable measure of what the center actually is, because that might not be as biased by some of those little outliers that get kind of thrown away and canceled out when we're figuring out the median. Okay, so since the data are skewed, the median of whatever it was, we'd find it represents the center. Okay? You can even say best represents, or is the best representation of, or is the best number to use, as long as it's backed up by the data. Again, why it's skewed, what, the median, what was it actually, presumably we would have figured that out. Okay? Spread, since the data, and again, we can't really figure this out with that very easily based on these big bars. But we'd use the IQR. The IQR of whatever it ends up being represents the spread. Okay, so for me, it's really important when you do center and spread to have those full sentences and to really justify your work at every single step. Okay, I'm going to do one more example, I think, just for time of a histogram, because these are hard to do with a lot of specificity. I'll try to show you this on a graphing calculator because this is a little bit more straightforward. So to me, if I'm going to do the shape, I'm going to say the data are approximately, I believe them to be approximately symmetric. And we can pull the mean and the median on our calculator and figure that out. I think we can agree here is that there are definitely no outliers. There's no numbers way off in either direction. Okay, and remember with a histogram, you'd see a number way off with a really low bar, right? Just one thing way off. So we're going to use the mean. So let's pull up our graphing calculator, and this was some statistics I did earlier. So we're going to go to Stat, Edit, and then we're going to go up. So L1 is highlighted. We're going to hit Clear, and then we're going to hit Enter to clear out our data. And what do we have here? So now, again, this is going to be a little bit of difficulty because we know that there are three numbers from -6 to -4, but we don't know what they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to call them three. I made that classic mistake. Don't do this one. We're going to do -5. So, but when we do that, make sure you hit this -5. So -5, -5, -5. Okay. Now, what's between -4 and -2? That's -3. So we've got -3, -3, -3, -3, -3. Now we've got -1. We've got two of those. -1, -1. This is often a strategy people will have you do with histograms. I've got 1, 1. I've got 6 3s. And I've got 3 5s. And that's it. 21 numbers. Let's count. 3, 8, 10, 11, 17, 20. And we have last number 20. Okay, let's do stat. So stat, over to calc, and we'll do one var stats. First option. All right, so let's take a look at the mean. So the first thing I'm going to notice how the median is 0 and the mean is 0.1. So the fact that they're almost the same is indicative of the fact that this is actually symmetric data. That's what you'd be seeing, because what this is indicating is even though you have numbers that are as big as 5 or even 6 and as little as -6 potentially, nothing's really throwing off the mean. The mean is basically bigger than half of the numbers and smaller than half of the numbers. So it's a pretty good representation of the center. Okay, so I'm going to say, since the data are symmetric, I used the mean, and remember the mean is always the x with the bar, of 0.1 for the center. Okay. Oh, and this is supposed to be not S, center. Now spreads. Okay. So spread, we go with the standard deviation, and hopefully we'll just pop our calculator back. But the standard deviation is essentially right here. So the standard deviation that we've got is 3.54. Okay, so on average, the numbers are about 3 away from the middle. And that's true, right? 3.5, right? It's about 3.5, right? They could be as much as 3 above. On average, you're about 3 below. All right, it's not makes sense. So since the data are symmetric, I used the standard deviation of about 3.5 for the spread. Okay. So histograms are not very much different than dot plots in terms of how do we find the SOCS. There is a little bit less information available to you because some information's been thrown away. But you do get some very nice visuals in terms of the representations, like the fact that how we're able to see like symmetric versus skewed. I found it really interesting. Think about the strategy for approximation, and sometimes it's really the best you can do. Remember, we just chose the number right in the middle. So with -6, -4, we chose -5, and then we just use whatever frequency the bar indicated. So for -6 and -4, for example, the frequency was 3. So we go in the middle, we find -5, we put 3 of them, right? And then we did, right, -3 is in the middle of -4 and -2. So we do 5 of those, and so on and so on. All right, folks, best of luck with this. Hope you are able to watch all 3 of these. Don't forget to love math. And remember, you can do it. All right, thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful day.